Hi, welcome to MG Life Hacks. I am your host, me. I am a patient with Myasthenia Gravis, and due to the lack of more information out there for other people who have this, I made this channel to share some of the ways that I've found that help me get around, maintain as much independence as possible, and get and improve my quality of life. So I wanted to share that in case anybody out there is helped by this. Myasthenia gravis is a neuromuscular disease that causes extreme weakness, and it affects everyone that has it a little bit differently. It's typically a difficult illness to get diagnosed properly just because it's considered rare. It is a challenge. So, diving into it. Today I wanted to talk about mobility aids. There are basically two ways to go about it. I'm just going to speak to my journey with it, but everybody has different experiences with it, especially if you dive into some of the Facebook groups, some of the research you do there, or if you put a question out there or look up, and search for mobility aids within Myasthenia Gravis chat groups. They'll probably tell you something pretty similar. So basically with mobility aids, they're supposed to help you get around or do certain tasks. The ones that I am going to speak to specifically are a cane and a wheelchair. Haven't tried a walker yet. Might have to down the line at some point, maybe. We'll see. There is the medical route where you go through your doctor and try and get your insurance to pay for it. Or you can pay for it yourself. I tried going the medical route, and the problem that I ran into, and my neurologist explained it pretty well. He said that the reason that they're not covering it is because myasthenia gravis, mine anyway, fluctuates quite a bit. So with that improvement in symptoms, they don't want to pay for something that is going to improve. They don't look at the fluctuation part. They just look specifically at the improvement part, if you can imagine. So that being said, I decided and opted to get a cane when I was first diagnosed, and it was so god awful, quite frankly, with the symptom severity. So the reason I get a cane is because I was having so much weakness in one of my legs that I looked up on YouTube, thank you YouTube, how to properly use and walk with a cane so that I could try and compensate for that, so I could still walk as much as I possibly could. Because with myasthenia gravis, the last thing you want to do is just completely give up. You don't want to do that. It's going to be limiting enough as it is. You want to try and maintain as much independence and movement as you can, as safely as you can. So I went with a cane at first, and that was a good move because I was able to, definitely not do anything to the degree that I was before my diagnosis and illness, but I could still get around a store. I could still get a few things. I could get to the car, from the car to the carts, and just stick my cane in the cart and then use the cart to help me with my balance and, take the weight off of that weak leg. So that helped me a lot considerably, and that made me so happy to be able to do that. So I highly recommend it if you feel like you need that. The other thing that I got at one point down the road also is a wheelchair, and this might sound really nuts to somebody that's new to this, but with this diagnosis, for me anyway, everybody's going to be a little different, it helps save so much energy. So much energy. I got an electric one. I got the lightest one that I could possibly find, that I could afford, that would fit into my car. It helped save so much energy, and I was also able to go out with my family, different places. The zoo, when it wasn't too hot or too cold. Museums. And I was able to do a lot more. I'm still able to do some things, not to the degree that I was before, but more than if I didn't have it. If I am down in my cycle between infusions and it's basically time for my next one, but I'm still trying to squeeze as much quality of life as I can, go to the mall, I can use my wheelchair to get around the mall and shop with my family and be a part of that. And to me, that is huge. And it saves so much energy that by the time we get home, I can still be a part of things going on. I'm not so pooped and exhausted that I can't help make dinner, be with my family, enjoy time with my family because I'm lying in bed, exhausted from just doing a teeny tiny trip somewhere. So in terms of energy saving and helping with strength, for me, that helped considerably. It helped with independence and quality of life. The downside of it that I have seen with some folks is that you become so used to using it and depending on it that it becomes routine. I am naturally driven to want and get and try for more, which is a double-edged sword. But the thing you want to be careful about is with a cane or a wheelchair or a walker, mostly with a cane or a walker, it can change your gait, the way you walk, the different muscles that you use. Because when you change your reliance and you're accommodating that weak leg and you're using a cane, now you're putting more work on your good leg and your arm and your wrist and your hand. So after a while, your body starts to adjust your muscles accordingly, and the weakness in that leg won't improve quite as much as if it would have if you would have kept trying carefully, gradually, on those days where you do feel good and you feel like you can walk without it, to walk without it. It is going to fluctuate. So your need on, well, mine anyway, my need on those things fluctuates. Sometimes I need them a lot. Usually it's when I'm due for an infusion. Sometimes I don't need them as much, depending on what I'm doing, but I really like that freedom. The other caveat that comes with mobility aids is the stares, the looks, the questions from everybody, from your family, friends, to just pretty much everybody. It is different. I actually prefer to blend into the wall most of the time. So it was a very big change for me, but I need to get out of my house. I need to be able to do as much as I can. For me, it's a quality of life thing. There is that to cope with. For me, the payoff is absolutely worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Put yourself out there. Take their comments with a grain of salt. Just, you can't exactly ignore them, but you can find different ways to just deal with it and move on, because you are getting quality of life back. There might also be, I had an experience with my first neurologist, the one who actually found the Myasthenia Gravis. The hospital that I was taken to after I had serious trouble breathing, I was hospitalized there for about a week, and the reason I went in was because of extreme weakness all over my body. It was a really nasty flare-up, and when you start to have trouble breathing and you can't catch your breath, it's like they call it shortness of breath. It feels like you're breathing and breathing and breathing and you can't get enough air, and you start to feel lightheaded. It's not hyperventilating, It's you're breathing. It's just not taking. It's not sticking. It doesn't feel like you're actually getting enough air in your lungs. That is shortness of breath for me. When I was there, after I'd been hospitalized for 5 days, and I could barely walk without the walker, my neurologist and the neurologist there said, you don't need that cane. The thing about myasthenia gravis is it is rare, it is very different, and it's different for everybody. The second neurologist that I was referred to, because that hospital also said when they discharged me, you're stable enough, here are a ton of steroids, here's a specialist that you should really see. A specialist that, but their specialization is neuromuscular diseases. He ran an updated antibody test, and my levels were very, very elevated. So I did absolutely 100% need that cane. I felt like I needed that cane because I felt like my leg was gonna buckle every time I took a step. So I decided to ignore them and kept using the cane until I saw my specialist, and we came up with a treatment plan. Symptoms improved, gradually able to ditch it whenever possible. It's good stuff. But my point is, don't let anybody tell you that you don't need a mobility device. If you are truly having muscle weakness and that muscle is going to bail on you and you feel that like shaky, for anybody that's watching this that doesn't have this diagnosis, for me anyway, mine feels like if you've ever exercised at the gym and you've used a weight and you're using that, like a curl or whatever, and you've done it and you're doing it and you're still doing it and you're doing it, eventually your muscle will start to burn and it will hurt, but not so bad. It'll hurt, but mostly it'll start to shake on top of what you're doing. Eventually, if you keep going long enough, it will not lift that weight anymore. For you. For me, it happens much more quickly and there's no pain involved. It's just like that. It just bails. If you have that feeling like in your legs when you're walking, for me, that's my myasthenia gravis. It will give out on me. Absolutely. I know my body. So if you have people telling you that you don't need that, you shouldn't need that, you're too young to use that, you're too young to need that, says you. I need it. I like getting around safely. That's my thing. It's your safety. Just don't become so used to it that you don't stop striving to get your body and your muscles back in a place where they don't need it as much. For instance, my cycles currently are 4 weeks on, like a weekly dose of my infusion, 4 weeks off. Since it's been about 2.5 years now, almost 3. 2.5 years now, I know my body and I know my cycles well enough to know when I'm pushing it most of the time. So what I do is, if I need to go to a parent-teacher conference and I know that there are stairs and it's 2 weeks past my last infusion and I'm done with my infusion cycle. I'm all done with my infusion cycle and it's been 2 weeks since my last one. I could probably still make it up those stairs. It's going to be 26 of them. I know from experience. I can also gauge it's probably going to be about 2,000 feet as long as we drive to the school. As long as I walk really slowly, I should make it. However, if I've done a lot of things during the day or anything during the day that I don't usually do in my daily routine, which is always going to fluctuate a little bit, but if I've done anything like extra stairs in my house, extra chores, extra laundry. If I've pushed myself pretty good that day, I'm going to take the cane just to be safe. Because if my leg starts to feel weak, that way it's just going to be there in case I need it. But I won't actually put my weight on it. If it is 4 weeks since my last infusion, I am definitely taking that cane. And I'm going to ask if there's any possibility I could use the elevator. But it's going to fluctuate. If it's, I started my infusions and I just got my second one a couple days ago, I'm solid. I can definitely do those stairs. I can definitely make it to the classroom from the elevator or the stairs. I'll probably use the stairs. But you see, it's gonna vary a little bit. So it just depends on what you're used to, what you plan. But just try and work as much as you can out of moving your body. Don't give up. It becomes difficult with this diagnosis sometimes to keep your body, keep it going, keep trying. Don't try to the point of excess where you're shaking and now you're flaring up because you tried too hard. There's a very balanced way to do it. But if you push yourself too hard, and now today you're watching YouTube videos on the subject because you're bummed out because you can't do it as much as you'd really wanted because you tried and you did too much, don't give up. All of us have been there. You just learn as much as you can. Try and learn from it. Learn what activity. Maybe you pushed it with this. Maybe you pushed it with that. Just bear it in mind for next time. If you do a new activity, set a timer. If you do a new activity, go slowly. Spread it out throughout the day. Just don't give up. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't get a mobility device or that you shouldn't need that. Just keep their comments in perspective. Like I said, I even had 2 very educated, well-meaning neurologists tell me, you don't need that cane. I absolutely do if I want to walk without falling and hurting my knee or my hip or just falling. So that's just my experience. I'm not a medical expert. I'm in accounting. So also bear that in mind. But I hope this helps someone, anyone. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in learning more about my experience and what's helped me out with my diagnosis and trying to keep as much independence and quality of life as I can, just subscribe to the channel. Thanks and have a great day.